robber barons, which I covered in the previous video, were amassing vast amounts of wealth, living lives of privilege and ease. The political class and the political machines were powerful and controlled city government and sometimes state. The spoils system was in full effect in both parties. Everybody was happy, right? Well, not so fast, Skippy. America was industrializing. Yes, personal wages were growing, but the cost of that growth left many people behind. Socialism, communism, and anarchy were growing in the United States. Many people of the working class saw these political beliefs as a way to make society more equal. Okay, let's look at these theories. Now, the Oxford Language Dictionary defines socialism as a political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole, or as I like to say, commie-like. Intrusive, yes, but with a velvet glove covering that iron fist. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole. That sentence suggests our neighbors and friends will decide who gets what in the way of resources. Okay, that sounds reasonable. Our neighbors would not oppress us. That is, until we object to how our neighbors are regulating the means of production, distribution, and exchange. Well, in reality, the community is the government. They will tell manufacturers what to make, where to send it, and what price to sell it for. Now, this includes farmers, textiles, construction, all aspects of the economy. Now, you'll still own your business, but the community, aka the government, will regulate your business. And if you disagree, the government could come in and take your business. Now, let's look at medical decisions. Could be based on productive life. How expensive is the procedure or the test? How old are you? How many more years of productive life do you have left? Something scary to think about. Now, another aspect of socialism is your business can be expropriated by the government. That's a 50-cent word, which means the government takes away your private property. They deprive you of possession of proprietary rights without just compensation. Now, this is why in this country we have the Fifth Amendment in our Constitution. It's called the Takings Clause. It states, "Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation." Now, this clause is intended to uphold the principle that government should not single out isolated individuals to bear excessive burden, even in support of an important public good. Now, I believe it was during the 2016 presidential election that the candidate, Democratic Senator Bernnie Sanders of Vermont, was touting the success of socialist Sweden. There's just one problem. Sweden was not socialist. It dropped the socialist experiment in the early 1990s when their economy tanked. In a blog for the Cato Institute, there is a link in the description below. Johan Nornberg wrote, "If Bernie Sanders and AOC wants to imitate actually existing conditions in Sweden today, they would have to liberalize markets in many ways, reform Social Security, introduce school vouchers, get rid of minimum wage and most occupational licensing, and abolish taxes on inheritance and property." Bernie should have done his homework before that interview. Now, I've also put a link in the description of Senator Bernie Sanders' interview on ABC News in 2016 discussing socialism in Scandinavia. You can call it social democratic republic, democratic socialism, constitutional socialism, socialist constitutional democracy. It doesn't matter what you call it. It is still socialism, and the government will tell you what to do, when to do it, and how much of your money, and in a lot of cases property, they will take, and where you can live. Now, having said that, if you remember the video I did on mixed economies, you will recall that pure capitalism is theoretical. All capitalist economies have some form of regulation to protect the public safety and welfare. Now, these regulations have been enacted through the years because of unscrupulous business practices. They have forced the government to step in to protect our safety and welfare. Consumer protection is one area of government regulation. Now, an example of consumer protection laws is the Pure Food and Drug Act. This law came about in part because of Upton Sinclair's novel, The Jungle. It was published in 1905. It's a good book. You should read it. One piece of advice, don't read it before you eat. Now, the United States Supreme Court can and has ruled certain government regulations were unconstitutional. Those regulations were abolished. In a socialist society, that doesn't really happen. On the whole, socialism is about redistribution of wealth and property. Take away from the wealthy, give it to the poor. Everybody's the same, except those in charge. In socialist governments, regulations are never challenged. Hey, Bernie Sanders, you want to make everybody equal? How about you turn 2 of your 3 homes into homeless shelters? Can you say hypocrisy? I know, cheap shot. I just couldn't resist it. Now, socialist governments are usually authoritarian governments. They have to be, otherwise they cannot stay in power. People tend to get cranky when they don't have enough to eat, no medicine, electricity is unreliable, the store shelves are empty of basic articles like soap, shaving cream, and toilet paper. There's a saying, you can vote your way into socialism, but you have to shoot your way out. Hey, how are things going down there in Venezuela, guys? You know what I mean? Okay, now moving into the big leagues of oppression. Communism is defined as a political theory derived from Karl Marx, advocating class war and leading to a society in which all property is publicly owned and each person works and is paid according to their abilities and needs. It sounds great, right? Communism is all about taking. Karl Marx, an unsuccessful, unemployed philosopher, along with Friedrich Engels, published a book titled The Communist Manifesto in 1848. He called for revolution, bloody revolution, the complete overthrow of the capitalist system. Workers of the world unite was their rallying cry. The main point of communism, each according to his needs, no private property, means of production was owned by the workers. Now, in order to achieve this main point, this goal, there would have to be a bloody revolution in which class warfare would take place. Once the overthrow of the bourgeoisie, the rich private property owners, and the ruling class, there would be a period where a dictatorship will be necessary to make sure the great socialization process and redistribution of wealth takes place. Now, once that's done, everybody will be equal. Each person receives from the government according to their needs. Yeah, sounds great, except in the history of communism, any country that has tried it has not gone beyond the dictator stage. This is why I refer to socialism as commie-lite. No sane person would vote themselves into communism today, but they will vote in socialism because it's democratic socialism. Okay, now the next philosophy is anarchy. Now this is defined as a state of disorder due to absence or non-recognition of authority or other controlling systems. The organization of society on the basis of voluntary cooperation without political institution or hierarchical government. That is anarchism. Now, think about these two definitions. State of disorder, no recognized authority without public institutions or hierarchical government. Gee, sounds like pure social Darwinism to me. Survival of the fittest. The anarchist movement during the industrial period of late 19th century America consisted of people using violent methods to get rid of government officials, wealthy bankers, and robber barons. Their favorite method of protest was throwing bombs to blow people up and businesses up. In the process, a few of the anarchists blew themselves up. They were obviously candidates for the first Darwin Awards. The problem with all three of these philosophies is human nature. These philosophies depend on the human being accepting a communal form of existence. We all work together, we all share together, equally according to our needs, and we all cooperate with each other. Now this is where these philosophies fall apart. Who decides what your needs are? A committee? A dictator? A regional needs bureau? One thing is for sure, you will not be in that decision-making process. There is always someone who will take more than they need but complain if everybody doesn't share equally. Okay, so far we've covered the robber barons, capitalism, social Darwinism, and the political machines. I've given you the basics of the major political philosophies of the era. Now in the next video, I'll cover the workers, the labor movement, which relied upon these philosophies to gain followers and try to change things. Now remember, please review your notes every day. You are going to retain this information. I hope this video helps you in your class. Now, if you like the video and want to see more short 5-10 minute videos on U.S. histories, click the like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to my channel. But most importantly, please leave a comment below, something to do with the algorithm. Thank you for watching.